Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Mr. Hicks podcast. We are here getting it in once again, time and time again. I have not been recording as frequently as I should. Like I said, I'm writing a book, and but you know what? That's not an excuse. I am going to record, and one of the reasons I probably haven't been recording as much is because I'm too much trying to make it perfect, trying to make sure nobody's in the house, make sure that so I can have a good recording, so I can be quiet, and I got kids, and just whatever, just trying to make it as perfect as possible. And I've just decided that I don't care. I'm just going to make content. I'm just going to record. It's not going to be perfect. I don't have a studio. But then again, I look online, I look on YouTube, I look on different platforms and what have you, and see what other people are recording. And they're just putting out content. They're doing it without really people are holding up their phones and just giving their and ranting and giving their opinion. I mean, hell, Uncle Lou does that, and it's all he's ever done, and he does great. So you know what? I'm just not going to be such a jerk about this, and I'm just going to do what I love doing, which is running my mouth about sports or anything else. Really, I just kind of enjoy running my mouth. So, college football has started, kinda. If you saw the slate of games, if you're gonna do this again, college football, give me one game that I could actually be excited about. But I imagine the good teams don't really want to, play this early because you haven't had a lot of practice, a lot of bugs to work out. And then most of the teams that do it are not playing good teams. So like the best game, like competitive wise, that going into the weekend was Nebraska versus Northwestern. And nobody even respected Northwestern to be any good. And yet Nebraska still found a way to lose to them because that's what Nebraska does. They find ways to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Not supposed to be that way, but that's what it is. Like Nebraska was much more talented. It's not, Northwestern is an exceptional academic institution. So anytime you've got, and I have a theory on that at any one time, either like Stanford, Notre Dame, or Northwestern can be good, but not all three. There's just not enough great academic and great athletic players in a country to support that many teams at one time. They just can't do it. But again, Nebraska finds a way to lose. I mean, they blow a double-digit lead to lose to Northwestern 31-28. They had a matter of fact, they had a double-digit lead twice in this game. They gave up 500 yards of offense to to Northwestern. And by the way, Fitzgerald is it's always a very well-coached team, but they just don't always have a lot of talent. Bonehead plays and bad decision-making, 3 turnovers, and of course the now famous onside kick while they were up 11 points. I just don't know what to say. Like when the fans, and it's a really great fan base. It's a really loyal fan base, and they support the hell out of their team, and you feel for them because it's genuine. And it's one of the best things about college football is the fans, and one of the worst things about college football is the fans. But I honestly never met a Nebraska fan that I didn't like. Those guys, they're at least conscious of the fact that it's going to be hard for them to return to glory, but they still believe that they can do so. But this idea that they were like the best 3-9 team ever because all their losses were like most of those losses were like less than 3 points. And my argument was, well, that should make you feel worse because that means that one change, one bounce of the ball, one change of decision could have changed 8 or 9 games in the season last year, and none of them went your way. The fact that none of them went your way should really concern you. Like, we really just not a fumble, this just a high turnover rate, low opportunities to just capitalizing on opportunities. What are you getting yards after the catch? You have a new quarterback. You have an entirely new offensive staff. Transfers out to Wazoo, and yet you still manage to not get it done against Northwestern. This is a team that a lot of people thought were going to make a bowl this year, and in year 5, I don't imagine why they hung on to him. I mean, actually, no, I know why they held on to him because he's a prodigal son. He was the quarterback in 1995 when they won their last national championship, and him coming from UCF and coming back was considered to be a home run. Like, he's that dude when it comes to that program. He wanted Nebraska, unlike a lot of people who settle for Nebraska. He wanted that job. He wanted to restore that program, and he hasn't thus far been able to do it, and this makes it look even worse. And I remember this very specifically, like, when there was he had an opportunity to get this job one time before. He was the offensive coordinator at Oregon, and he didn't get it. And I remember him being told, somebody told him, hey, take the Central Florida job, because the offense that you run, you're going to have so many athletes right in your own backyard. They're going to be able to run your system. You're going to blow people out. You score a lot of points, and it will show the Power 5 programs what your offense can do, because you'll still be able to get great athletes in the state of Florida. He does that. It works great. At that time, when he came out, he probably could have gotten any head coaching job he wanted. And he chose Nebraska because he's from Nebraska. I feel like they're the same way that LeBron goes back to Cleveland to win a championship because it's Cleveland, and because he's from there. I remember very specifically, so I feel like this is the one time that going home did not work out, and it was a bad idea. I remember specifically when Urban Meyer took the Florida job. Urban Meyer had always said that Notre Dame was his dream job. And he was coming from, I want to say, Utah. He was coming off of Utah. And a lot of people were really shocked by this move. They were like, really? Who is this coach from Utah that's going to come up here and do well in the SEC? Get out of here. And I thought to myself, I was like, yeah, who's that coach from Michigan State and Toledo that's going to come down here and dominate the SEC? Oh, yeah, that was Nick Saban. So doesn't really matter where you come from, guys. So he had an opportunity at that time to either take the Florida job or the Notre Dame job. He had been a wide receivers coach at Notre Dame. He always felt it was really special. He always wanted that job. But when he had a chance to take it, when he had a chance to take the Notre Dame job, he chose the Florida job instead. And as a coach, to have that kind of talent right in your backyard, instead of having to fight to get guys into your school, fight to keep guys eligible. I know Notre Dame fans like to downplay this and act like it's not that big a deal, but it is what it is. I mean, like, I respect Notre Dame as an institution. I respect that they play at the level that they do, despite the fact that they have academic constraints. But the way that Notre Dame fans argue that it's not a big deal, I think is kind of delusional. And I think Urban Meyer knew that, and he was like, if I want to win these titles, I better go someplace where you can take basket weaving and just kick some butt. So Scott Frost is on that watch, bro. I think he might get fired. And it turns out that when they readjusted his contract, they made it so that his buyout goes from $15 million to about $8 million on October 1st. So if he gets past October 1st, I will be very surprised. So, and now for the soap opera portion of the show. So we now return you to the Nets and the Restless. Kevin Durant decides he wants to come back to the team like he had a freaking choice. He had no choice. He had no leverage. He had already decided he had 4 years left on his deal. The NBA, and for Adam Silver to come out publicly and say, I don't like this. I don't like this. So that players just demanding a trade when they've got so much time left on their deal. For the league, I mean, he's basically the mouthpiece for all the other owners anyway. But like, for him to publicly come out and say that is like, yeah, you better not do this. We're gonna find a way to hurt you. We're going to. And then like, you probably needed a third team to facilitate this trade. Any trade that got done, and nobody wanted to do it. And nobody who actually had trades and players to do it wanted to do it. Houston could have done it. They had the picks. Oklahoma City. Houston and Oklahoma City had the picks and they had the players, and neither one of them wanted to do it. So that meant that you had to get a third team involved, and you couldn't get a third team to touch this with a 10-foot pole. Nobody wanted to do it. And I am a big believer that I think Charles Barkley nailed it when he said that Kevin Durant is just a miserable dude. He's just a sad. I feel like he wants everybody to love him like his mama, and he wants everybody to respect him like LeBron, and he ain't gonna get either one. And I think this is what happens when you have somebody that's not emotionally mature. It doesn't mean that you're not a grown man. It means you're not emotionally mature. That means is like you have to come to a term that there are limits, there are things that you can get and things that you can't get, and that you have to prioritize. So it's like, what's the thing that you want? Do you want to be loved? Do you want to be respected? Do you want to get titles? Because when he went to OKC, went from OKC to the Warriors, he went to win titles, right? And he won titles. And he won 2 MVPs. But it was like everybody said he was soft, and everybody said it was a bad move, and like you had to go to a team that had already won championships without you. So to that, I ask you, what was the point? If the point was to win titles, why did you leave? Because you probably still could have won 3 or 4 titles by now, and your legacy would be very different. Instead of leaving as a free agent and going to another team to quote unquote be the man on your own team, that is like the dumbest thing that probably came out of like the aughts, or this guy that I want to be the man on my own team. Like, yeah, everybody who did that, how did it work? Like, everybody who decided that they were like, I want to be the man on my own team. Well, Kawhi Leonard won 1 in a fluky championship in Toronto, and then he's back home in LA and ain't done a damn thing since. Load managing BS. So it doesn't work. And then Kevin Durant goes to where he wants to go with the teammates he wanted to play with the coach that he okayed. And 2 years later, it doesn't work. And now he goes, I want out after he signed a long-term deal. And my question to you is, like, what do you want? What do you want? If you want championships, you should have stayed where you were. But the truth is, what you're looking for is a feeling. You're looking to be loved. You're looking to be respected. And as a grown man, you cannot chase feelings. You can't. Nobody cares about your feelings when you're a grown man. So if that's what you're looking for, man, if you're looking for love, go talk to your mama. Then go play basketball. But what you're doing here is really soft. And as a matter of fact, I believe that he's gone from being the second best player in the league to LeBron to being the second best player in the league to Giannis. And I believe that Giannis has won championship because of the way he won it is much more respected than Kevin Durant's 2 MVPs. Because like he's got Giannis has got the championship, he's got the league MVPs, but the thing is he won it he re-upped with a team that drafted him, and he did not create a super team. He did not have he had another all-star, but he definitely didn't have another superstar. He had, and I don't even think like Chris Middleton was an all NBA player. So the fact that he won the way he won is going to go down as much more respected than what Kevin Durant has done. And I'll stand 10 toes down on that. So switching back to college football. So, Jim Harbaugh has done some foolishness. So Michigan, going into week 1, has decided that they have not decided on who the quarterback is going to be. So Cade McNamara is going to start versus Colorado State week 1. And then you've got Joe McCarthy is going to start week 2 against Hawaii. So what? Dude, pick a dude. What are you talking about? Like, and my son and I were talking about this. It's like, I really believe what he's doing in this one is that he's trying to avoid one of them transferring. Because if you pick McCarthy, and McNamara has been on that team, he earned the right as the incumbent starter to stay, to get the nod. But if you take McCarthy, McNamara will probably want to transfer. And you don't want him to leave because then you'll have no depth. But then if you start McNamara, McCarthy was a 5-star quarterback. He can definitely leave. And then McNamara is going to have all kind of problems with people just calling for McCarthy the second he makes mistakes. The second we want Joe. And these people, because fans are brutal, and that's what they do. And like, so you're trying to keep them both happy, you're trying to keep them both in the same place in order to keep your depth and not one of them transfer. And then the same thing just happened to Texas. Now, Texas didn't like completely sidestep the issue, but I feel like they're having the same problem. So you got Hudson Card and Quinn Ewers. It amazes me that Hudson Card even stuck around for this, because Casey Thompson was out of there. He's a starter at Nebraska, oddly enough. But so when Quinn Ewers wins a starting job at Texas, I believe Hudson Card really got jobbed, because if you listen to anybody who was like really plugged in, was going to the practices, was watching the scrimmages, Hudson Card was better. And I don't know, I was like hands down better, but I honestly couldn't find anybody who thought that Quinn Ewers was ahead in this competition to win the quarterback job. And then as soon as it starts becoming a problem and people start talking about it, then suddenly they name Quinn Ewers the starter. So I think all the boosters and everybody who has a say in Texas football, which is way too many people, started going to Sarkisian like, hey, we paid all this money to get this guy here, and we're going through all this, and now you're going to start Card? No, you're not. You're starting yours. And did it necessarily happen that way? Maybe not, but I'm sure there would have been it was a lot of pressure on him to start Ewers because, again, Ewers could go anywhere he wanted to. But the fact that he was behind in the race to start. Now remember, he technically should be a freshman right now. He decided to forego his senior year of high school, and this is a class he was supposed to have been in originally. So the problem was if you started Hudson Card, all the hype around this year is mostly due to the assumption that Quinn Ewers was going to be the starter. So if you throw Card out there, and nobody wants Card to be the starter except for Card and his mama, that's pretty much it. And then Card starts playing badly, people are going to start to boo immediately. And they're going to be like, oh, we want Ewers. The chant's going to start. That toxic fan base is going to just start in, and you're going to end up with Ewers, and you're going to end up with them going back and forth between those two guys. So I believe a Card hasn't left yet. I would most definitely do it if I was him. And it amazes me how people are like, well, you should stay there and compete, and you should stay there and support your team. You're a fan. You're a fan of the team, and the player staying helps you as a fan base and as coaches and what have you. But it's not the best thing for the player, and you know it. Like, it's just, if you were that kid's father and or the kid's parent, and that kid earned the job, Hudson Card earned that job, and they gave it to Quinn Ewers. Now, am I surprised? Did I think Quinn Ewers was going to win a job? Do I think Quinn Ewers is going to be a great player? Yes, I do. But I think you have to legitimately earn it. And no one was saying that Quinn Ewers was ahead in this job. If somebody just handed the job to somebody else knowing that you were better, I don't think you have any obligation to stay at that organization. I really don't. And I think this is a bad thing on Texas, but then again, it's also Texas. It's kind of what you expect. All right, guys, that's my show for tonight. I'm going to start to keep them shorter within the range of like between 12 to 15 minutes. I'm going to try, which means that I will probably not happen because it's kind of what I do because of my talking. I'm trying to get a little more disciplined in how I do it. So give me a like and a follow for the show, and please subscribe so that you can catch anything that we're doing new. You can also catch me on the Mr. Hicks Podcast on Twitter. And thank you for joining us this evening, and I am out.